Most of you are tanking your sales calls before you even open your mouth. And you think the problem is your script or the words you're saying, but it's not. The problem is something called your frame. And I'm going to show you the exact framework that generated over $100 million in high ticket enrollments and is nothing like what you've been taught. Hey, I'm Russ Ruffino. I'm the founder of a company called Clients on Demand. In the last 12 years, we've helped over 6,000 coaches, consultants, therapists, and experts just like you build incredible high ticket businesses. So this channel is about one thing: pulling back the curtain and showing you what I've learned from over 9 figures in high ticket coaching sales. Now, quick disclaimer, definitely not saying you're going to make a dime from any of this. I'm just pulling back the curtain and showing you what worked for me. So hit that like and subscribe button and let's dive in. All right, here's the framework. I call this the doctor frame. And the core insight is this: the best sales calls are not sales calls at all. They're diagnosing calls. And when it's time to sell, you're actually not selling, you are prescribing. And when you get that frame right, when you actually step into that doctor identity, everything about the call changes. Your energy changes, their energy changes, the whole outcome of the call changes. So take a second and think about the last time you went to the doctor. You walk into her office, you have this persistent cough that won't go away. It's been 3 weeks, you got a fever, you're a little worried. Now, the doctor does not walk in and say, hey, I've got these incredible antibiotics. They're brand new. Have you ever thought about trying antibiotics? I could really help you if you just say yes to antibiotics. And if you grab these antibiotics right now, I'm going to throw in these incredible bonuses. Are you ready? Let's get you signed up. That would be insane. You'd run screaming out of her office. That's not what she does. What she does is ask questions. When did this start? Is there any chest pain? Any shortness of breath? She listens to your lungs. She takes her temperature. She does her due diligence. And then she says, hey, based on what I'm seeing, I think you have a bacterial infection. And here's what I'd recommend. Here's what the treatment looks like. Here's what happens if you don't treat it. And she's not trying to convince you. She doesn't need to sell you $5 worth of penicillin that day, right? Her job is to diagnose clearly and then prescribe accurately. And your job is to decide whether you want to follow the prescription. That is the energy that you need to bring to your sales calls. Not salesman energy, doctor energy. And the call, the way that we teach it, has a structure. It's got 7 phases, and I'm going to walk you through every single one of them today. But first, I need to tell you why this matters so much more than you think, because this is not just about your close rate, right? This is about something that's kind of haunted me for years. So early in my career, I ran about 120 breakthrough calls, and 40 of those people enrolled and 80 of them said no, right? And they all had reasons. And I thought very naively that those were good reasons, right? I can't afford it right now. It's not the right time. I'm about to go on vacation. I got to check with my spouse, like all the usual stuff, right? So 9 months later, I'm sitting at my desk and I'm going through my notes and I see all the notes from these like 80 people that didn't sign up. And I go, man, I got all these notes on these people. I wonder what actually happened. Like, I wonder how many of them built the businesses that they said that they wanted to build. So not as part of any follow-up sequence or anything, just because I was curious, I just started dialing. Hey, what's up? It's Russ Ruffino. I don't know if you remember, we talked about 9 months ago. You told me you wanted to scale your coaching business to $20,000 a month. I just wanted to see how's it going. I called all 80 of them, every single one. And how many of them do you think had actually made progress in their business? Not one. Zero. A bunch of people told me they'd shut down their coaching business. Another person told me they were managing a Subway. Another woman said she went to work at Starbucks while she went to figure things out. Another guy went back to his corporate job, just gave up on his whole dream. And in that moment, I realized something that changed everything about how I approach sales. So the breakthrough call is not just a conversation. It's their one real chance to change their life. You understand? If they don't get help, they don't get the frameworks, the accountability, the structure that you provide, they're not just going to magically fix this problem on their own. Marriages don't just fix themselves. People don't just wake up one morning in the best shape of their lives, right? The odds are stacked against them. And there's self-doubt, and that self-doubt keeps them stuck. A lack of community keeps them stuck. So everything in their external world, everything in their life right now is designed to keep them exactly where they are. So when somebody gets on a sales call with you and you do it right, you're not asking them to make a decision about joining your program. You're asking them to make a decision to change their life. Does that make sense? Because it's really, really important. You're asking them to decide about whether they're actually committed to building what they say they want to build. And that's why you have to be so careful about how you show up on that call. Because most of the people that you speak to, and I really need you to hear this, most of them are looking for permission to stay stuck. They're not looking for a solution. They're looking for reasons why it won't work. They're looking for an excuse. And if you show up with all this like salesman energy, trying to convince them and twist their arm and fit them in your little objection box and all this other nonsense, you just give them the permission to be skeptical, to say no, and to stay stuck right where they are. And you then become a part of their story about why nothing works and why they can't change their life. Make sense? But if you show up as the doctor and you're clear and you're certain and you're direct, then you become something different. You become the one person in their life who's got the guts to tell them the truth. Now, here is where this gets neurological, and I really want you to hear this because it explains why most sales calls fail actually on a biological level. When somebody feels like they're being sold to, or when they sense that there's this desperate, needy energy, there's a part of their brain called the amygdala that fires up. Now, that is the threat detection center. That's the survival brain. And when the amygdala activates, it literally hijacks the prefrontal cortex. So that's the part of the brain where rational decision making lives. And your prospect isn't choosing not to buy, it's that they physically cannot access the part of their brain that enables them to think clearly. So it keeps them trapped in survival mode. And survival mode doesn't say yes, right? Survival mode says, let me think about it. It says, I got to talk to my spouse. It says, I can't afford it, even when they can. And there's a flip side to this, and this is the part that almost nobody in sales training is talking about. There's also something in neuroscience called co-regulation. And what that means is that your nervous system is designed to synchronize with other people's nervous systems. So when you sit in the presence of somebody who is calm, who is grounded, who is certain, somebody who genuinely doesn't need anything from you, your nervous system immediately starts to settle. The amygdala goes quiet. The prefrontal cortex comes back online, and you can actually think clearly again and make a decision to change your life. So this is why the doctor frame works at a level that goes beyond any sales script or sales technique or anything. Because when you show up certain, not like arrogant or cocky, just grounded and clear, like it's another day at the office, you solve these problems all the time, your prospect's nervous system borrows that certainty. So you create the conditions where they can actually make a real decision, not a fear-based decision, but a real one. And so the frame determines everything. It's not your words. It's not your script. It's not how many times you practice your close. It's not slick objection handling. It's just the frame. So let me walk you through the 7 phases of the call. Now, this is the skeleton, right? You flesh it out with your own personality, your own way of speaking, but this structure works whether you're selling a $5,000 coaching program or a $50,000 one. All right, phase 1 is rapport. It's about 60 to 120 seconds, 1 to 2 minutes. You open the call like a human being, not a robot, not a script, a real conversation. Hey, let's dive in. Before we dive in, how you doing? Where you calling from? What's your week been like? You listen, you find something real to connect on. Oh, do I hear your kid in the background? Oh man, I got 4 kids myself. It's crazy, right? And then you transition. Look, we don't have a lot of time together. I want to be very respectful of our time. So here's what I think we need to do. I want to understand exactly what's going on in your business right now, the real version, not the polished version. I want to ask you some really deep questions. The more honest you are with me, the better. And then I want to figure out if we're a good fit to work together. And if we are, we could talk about what that looks like. And if not, that's cool too. Either way, I'm here to give you some value. So let's get started. You see what I mean? You're setting expectations, you're being clear about the agenda, and you're already framing that this is an evaluation, not just a blind pitch. Now, phase 2 is where we uncover the problem. Now, this can go anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes, and it is the most important part of the call. You ask one question. What's not working in your business right now? Or what's not working in your marriage right now? Or what's not working with your fitness right now? Whatever your coaching program is about. And then you do something that makes most experts kind of uncomfortable. You shut the hell up and you listen. You're not there to fix yet. You're not going to jump in with solutions. You're not going to just give them the answer. You're not going to listen for buying signals. You are listening to understand what's really going on with them. So you just let them talk, because for once, somebody is actually listening without an agenda. And when they sense that, that's when they tell you the truth. That's when they tell you the real problems, the stuff that they've never said out loud, the stuff they haven't even told their best friend. So when they finish their first answer, you dig one level deeper. Tell me more about that. How long has that been going on? What have you already tried? If you could wave a magic wand and fix one thing about your marriage right now, what would it be? See, questions like that cut through everything and get to the heart of what really matters. You see? So, a great discovery conversation sounds like this. They might say, if it's in the coaching industry, let's say, I've been trying to scale my coaching business for 3 years. I'm charging $297 a month. I'm seeing 30 clients a week. I'm exhausted. Okay. You listen, you nod. When they finish, you say, all right, cool. So what I'm hearing is that you don't actually have a scaling problem, you have a leverage problem because you've built a business that only works when you're the one delivering. Is that right? And they go, yes, exactly. And now you understand the real problem. And now the sale becomes easy because all you have to do is prescribe what they need. And now that you've gathered the information, you can do that with precision. So that's the skill, by the way. It's not objection handling, it's not closing techniques, it's listening. It is deep, genuine, curious listening. Because when somebody feels truly heard, and I mean like really heard, not just like heard with an agenda where you're just taking notes, but you're thinking about the next thing that you want to say, when they get hurt on that level, their guard comes down, right? Their nervous system settles. They tell you the truth. And truth is the only thing that you can build a real recommendation on, and the only thing you can build a real coaching relationship on too. So look, most people walk around with massive problems, business problems, health problems, money problems, stuff that keeps us up at like 3 in the morning. And nobody in our lives has the courage to have a real conversation about it. Not because they care, but because the truth is harsh. It's too uncomfortable, right? I mean, maybe your best friend brings it up once. Maybe your spouse hints at it, but nobody sits you down and says, look, I see what's not working. I see the pattern, and now you have a choice. So the breakthrough call, right? That's what we call our sales calls. That is the conversation. It is that conversation. It is the conversation that they most need to have, but that everyone in their life is afraid to have. And that might be the only time in their life that a stranger or an expert, somebody without a stake in keeping them comfortable, actually tells them the truth about their situation. And that's not a sales call. That's not a transaction. That is a gift. And when you treat it that way, the whole energy of the call shifts immediately. So look, if this is already making sense to you and maybe you've done some sales calls, but you hate the way it feels and you actually want to implement it this way, click the link in the description of the video and book a call with my team. We will look at your situation. We will see how we can help. All right, that brings me to the third phase, and that is validate and anchor. So this is 2 to 3 minutes. You basically reflect their situation back to them with more clarity than they've ever heard it described before. So here's what I'm hearing. You're brilliant at serving your clients. You get great results. The problem isn't your expertise. The problem is that you don't have a scalable system. And so that means you're trading time for dollars and you're just maxed out. And the thought of reaching out for new clients makes you want to crawl out of your skin because you don't even have capacity for the clients you have right now. Does that sound right? And they say, yes, great. And in that moment, you've done something powerful. You've shown them that you understand their problem better than they understand it themselves. And when we feel that somebody understands our problems better than we do, we automatically assume that they know the answer. And that's authority. That is how trust gets built in about 60 seconds. So once you've reflected everything back to them, the next phase, phase 4, is pre-commitment. And this is like 1 to 2 minutes. So before you even get into the details of your program, you get their psychological commitment to fix the problem. Not join your program, but make a change. So here's what I need to know before I tell you what we do, right? If I could show you a path to get the exact clients you want at the price you want, anytime you want, are you ready to actually do the work? Or is this more of like a window shopping situation? If I were to show you exactly how you can fix your marriage in the next 8 weeks, are you committed to actually doing what it takes in order to fix it? You see, you're asking them to commit to fixing the problem, not to your program yet, but to commit to the outcome, because that's what this call is really about. And if they go, well, yeah, I don't know, I got to think about it, then you got to dig deeper, right? What is there to think about? Do you want to take this business to the next level or not? Do you want to fix your marriage or not? Because it's either true or it's not, right? Are you at a point where you're ready to do something about this? Or, do you want to just keep suffering for a little while? And you're not being harsh, you're being direct. And that's what separates the people who are ready from the people who are like fantasizing about being ready. And you're doing them a favor either way. Phase 5, we size up, right? So this is a couple minutes. You shift your energy, you become more certain, and you say, look, I've worked with hundreds of people in your exact situation. I know exactly how to fix this. I've seen the patterns. So here's what I recommend. Now that certainty is magnetic. People want to follow somebody who know where they're going. And so if you have qualifications that client has to meet, this is where you want to bring it up. Look, man, are you willing to show up like this? Are you willing to show up like that? Are you willing to show up coachable, decisive, resourceful? Are you going to do the things I tell you to do? Yes. Okay, great. So now they've qualified. We move on to phase 6, which is to present the solution. Now you talk about your program and you just lay out exactly what you do in the program step by step. Not a massive amount of detail that's going to overwhelm them, but you give them like the 4 or 5 big chunks of what you get done in your program. The first week, we're going to reestablish communication between you and your wife. We're going to get you guys talking again. In week 2, we're going to have a meeting of minds where we both get clear on exactly what you want from the marriage, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then you go through the entire program and then you present the price. So look, the investment to get this marriage fixed is just $15K. And we've got a few different ways to work. You can break it up into 3 payments of 5, or if you want to take care of the entire thing, it's just 1 payment of 12. Which of those sounds better to you, and how can I support you? So you give them options on how to pay, but not whether to pay. And then you invite them to move forward. So you've presented the price, and then you move into enrolling them. And if they have an objection, no problem. This is where you deal with it. So when somebody says, I need to think about it, you don't accept it, you actually get curious. Cool, what specifically is it that you need to think about? Is it the investment? Is it the time commitment? Is it whether the program will work? Right? I need to think about it is never the real objection. There's something underneath, and it's your job to find it. And when somebody says it's too expensive, you don't defend the price. It is expensive. You're right. It's not the cheapest option out there. But at the end of the day, do you want something that's actually going to fix your marriage, or do you want something that's going to keep you stuck exactly where you are? You understand? So you tie everything into the outcome that they want. Because maybe spending $15,000 on a coaching program is expensive. Who knows? But spending $15,000 to save your marriage, or to spend $15,000 to build the business of their dreams, that's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer. So it's never an objection about joining your program. It's always an objection about actually changing their life, because that is what they're hesitating about. And if somebody doesn't have the money, that's fine. That's a logistical problem. You just get resourceful with them. You show them the financing options. You show them the payment plans. You really have an open and honest conversation about where they're at financially, and put your heads together and see what you can figure out. So many people get worried about the price objection, but if you've already established that they want it and you've already established that they need it, then the price is just a logistics problem. How are we going to put the money together? And there's a million different ways that you can help people do that. Okay. And what you need to understand is this: there's something that is underneath every single objection. It's almost never about money. It's almost never about timing. It's about whether they believe they can do this. So the only objection you're ever going to hear is, will this work for me? Because if it will work for them, then money's no object, right? If it will work for them, then why do they need to talk to their spouse? If it will work for them, then why do they need to think about it? That is the real objection. Will this work for me? And you handle this not with more pressure, but with evidence and with certainty, right? So you ask, have you known anybody that has actually turned around their marriage? Did they do it alone, or did they have help? Yeah, they had help. Right. So you already know the answer. The question is whether you're willing to get help too. So that's the framework, right? 7 phases. And you stick to that doctor frame throughout the call. And what you need to understand is that none of this is manipulation, because if I'm doing all that digging and I find out that that person doesn't need my help, I'm not going to enroll them. Or if I feel like they're not ready, I'm not going to enroll them, right? So closes happen because of clarity, not because of closing techniques, but clarity. When somebody really sees their problem clearly and they see what it's costing them to have that problem, and they see the solution and they believe the outcome is real, then the decision makes itself. And your job is just to create those conditions. Understand? So I want to be honest about something, because there's a gap between understanding this and actually doing it that trips people up. The first time you try to use the doctor frame on a real call, there's going to be a moment, probably on the second or third call, where every instinct in your body is like screaming at you to go back to either consulting and just giving them the answers, or convincing and trying to box them in. And you're going to feel like you're being too honest. You're going to feel like you're being too direct. You might feel like, you need to close harder, or you need to get them to say yes. But that's the old conditioning. That is the salesman frame trying to reassert itself, and you've got to let it die. Because here's what I've watched happen with every expert I've ever worked with who really got solid on this. When they stopped trying to convince and they started genuinely diagnosing, just like a trip to the doctor's office, and when they got comfortable telling people, no, I'm sorry, I can't help you. No, I'm sorry, this is not a fit. When they got comfortable being picky about who they're going to work with and who they're not going to work with, they closed a lot more deals, not fewer, a lot more. And look, full transparency, when I first started, I didn't believe this either, all right? I was broke, I needed every sale, and every call felt like a death march. I was sweating, my voice was tight, I was trying so hard, and people could feel it. I was needy. My close rate was terrible because I was radiating desperation. And it really wasn't until I got solid in this doctor frame that my close rate actually went up 30%, 40% higher. And again, it's not a paradox. It is neuroscience. It is the co-regulation that we talked about earlier. When you are not desperate, meaning you don't need to make the sale, people trust you. When you don't need them, that's when they want you. And when you're willing to walk away, that's when they lean in. So when you get on your next enrollment call, I want you to adopt a different posture than you have. Show up with that certainty that you've diagnosed hundreds of cases in your area of expertise. You're not impressed by this problem. You're not daunted by this problem. You've seen it and you've solved it 1,000 times before. You're not nervous. You're confident because you know what you know. And your only job is to figure out if they are a fit who's willing to step up and willing to do what it takes to fix this problem once and for all. That's it. You're the doctor, they're the patient. And look, the doctor doesn't try to sell the patient medicine. The doctor doesn't beg the patient to get well. The doctor just says, look, here's the medicine. Here's what it's going to do for you, but here's what's going to happen if you don't take it. Make sense? So let me paint you a picture of what this looks like when it's working, right? 6 months from now, you've been running these calls, you've done 50 of them, and something has shifted in the way that you move through the world. You're not hustling anymore. You're not chasing. People are finding you through your content. People who've already decided they want to work with you before they even get on the call. You're picking the clients you want instead of just taking anybody with a pulse and a credit card. And you're charging what your expertise is really worth, and you're making more of a difference than you ever did because you're working with people who are genuinely committed to doing the work. That is what happens when you stop selling and start diagnosing. That's what happens when you step fully into this doctor frame that I'm telling you about. And the thing that's going to surprise you the most, your close rate's going to go up, not down. It's going to go up. The more certainty you have, the more picky you are, the more you're willing to say no, the more they're going to want to say yes. Because certainty and confidence is the most attractive energy in any sales conversation. Well, in any conversation, really, but especially in a sales conversation. So when you don't need the deal, when you're genuinely trying to figure out, do I really want to work with this person or not? And when you're willing to say no, everybody's going to trust you more. And trust is the foundation of every good outcome in coaching. So look, if you want help building this into your business, if you want coaching, accountability, a room full of experts who are building predictable high-ticket businesses right alongside you, click the link in the description of the video, book a call with my team. We'll look at your situation. We'll figure out if it makes sense for us to work together. And if you got value from this, hit that subscribe button. And remember, please, please, please stop trying to convince people. Stop trying to box them in. Start showing up like the doctor that they need. Get real about what's going on with them. Tell them the truth. And then invite them to do something about it if they're serious about fixing this problem. All right, I'll catch you in the next video.